Greetings, everyone, and welcome. September the 2nd, early afternoon here inside Ukraine, and today is a big day. As you can see in the thumbnail, Trump must respond now. The countdown to zero, Putin looking at Trump, Zelensky onlooking. We're going to talk about that because today, not only did Putin make direct statements about Ukraine and the war, buddying up with Robert Fico, but most importantly, we have heard from Lavrov making direct accusations about Donald Trump and what his plans are for this world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, and commenting. Now, as I understand it here in Ukraine, in a few hours, Donald Trump is supposed to make some address. And I need to be very clear with you. Here inside Ukraine, we're not listening to nonstop talk of, is Trump sick? Is Trump ill? Is Trump missing? When is his last real public appearance? But today, Ukraine is paying attention to the 9 o'clock hour. That will be 2 p.m. Eastern. They are fully expecting Trump to respond positively in support of Ukraine and aggressively against Russia. We'll talk about why in just a moment. Now, first of all, let's start with this. Sergei Lavrov, Putin's right-hand man, the foreign minister of Russia, came out today with a blistering statement about Donald Trump, about the West, bullies and tariffs. Here it is.
A multipolar world is emerging. Western countries are trying to prevent this. They're trying to maintain their dominance, resorting not to negotiations, not to methods of fair competition, but to direct blackmail, pressure, sanctions, and of course, colossal abuse in the role of the dollar, in world affairs, the tariff wars that the United States impose on everyone else. And the general opinion was that all this had nothing to do with an attempt to defend the legitimate rights of the West in the global economy in world politics, but was simply used as a means of suppressing competitors. The fact that competitors have not only grown, but are already ahead of the historical collective West in most respects.
Just about 30 minutes ago, I was picked up by a buddy of mine. We were moving to a different place for a meeting, and he looked at me and goes, "Greg, today, your president is supposed to speak to the world or make some press conference." He goes, "We're starting to hear about it in Ukraine. Is he going to say anything today about what Lavrov and Putin have said? Does he even know what they truly think of him?" The answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know what he really thinks. Of course, up to now, he's too-weak taco Donald Trump. That's just what he is. He's a coward. He is in a bromancing, one-sided relationship with Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. It's easy to see, but that relationship is not two-way. And we're going to see more and more about that. That is why I'm very bold on the title of the video today. There must be a response. And if there is not a response, specifically to what Lavrov said, and additionally to that, what Vladimir Putin has stated, and we'll get to that in a moment, then we're in a new era of global geopolitics. We're in a new era of a divided multipolar world like we've never experienced before. Now, speaking of Putin, of course, you can see here in the image Robert Fico meeting with him today. The Prime Minister of Slovakia, been very outspoken, supportive of Russia. Him, Vucic out of Serbia, he's also there. And of course, Orban out of Hungary. But there has been an ongoing feud between Fico and Zelensky. And there has been an ongoing feud between Orban and Zelensky. But Fico heading, EU heading straight to China because he wanted to have maybe an audience with Putin. Well, as you can see in the image, he got it, but it's much more than that. Before Fico went, or as he was there, he put out this video about how the EU views the world. Take a listen to this.
Personally, I regret and I admit that I do not fully understand why, from the countries of the European Union, only the Slovak Republic will be represented in Beijing, A new world order is being created, new rules of a multipolar world, a new balance of power, which is extremely important for international stability. Participation in such discussions means developing dialogue, not playing the offended child. That is exactly how the European Union and its representatives behave today. One wise politician once told a story about a frog sitting at the bottom of the well. The frog says, "The sky is as big as the bottom of the well." But this is not true, because the sky is not as big as the bottom of the well. The European Union is exactly like that frog at the bottom of the well, and it thinks that the sky it sees is the entire sky. And we are pleased with ourselves, which is extremely awkward. Meanwhile, the world is developing very quickly, and we are just watching. As Prime Minister of Slovakia, I refuse to simply watch this happen. If in Beijing, besides paying respects to the victims of war, there is an opportunity to meet, then it is necessary for us to make use of this opportunity.
So we can clearly see that Fico's view of global politics, global geopolitics, is that the EU is in the bottom of a barrel like a frog, and they think they see the entire sky, but in reality, they only see a small portion. What does that mean? It means that there's much more to what is going on than the EU is saying. He's coming against the European Union there. He's coming against Donald Trump there and the Western leadership that the United States is providing. And he's looking towards Russia. He's looking towards China and India, the BRICS nations, saying there's a whole big world out there that we need to explore. Now, Vladimir Putin, you can see in this image here, took great opportunity to put a strong statement out. He said Putin stated that Russia will attack Ukrainian energy facilities in response to Ukraine's attacks. He said it is time to respond. Moscow has long endured. This is so evil, guys. Moscow has long endured and did not respond to Ukrainian attacks on energy infrastructure. Now we will begin to respond seriously. By the way, cut off Ukraine while you're talking and doing your stuff, Putin directly told Fico in his meeting there. Listen to this clip.
After all, Ukraine receives a significant amount of energy resources through Eastern Europe and the neighbors that they have there. Cut off their gas supplies that come through reverse flow. That's gas sent back from Europe. Cut off their electricity supplies, and they will immediately understand that there are certain limits to their behavior when it comes especially to violating the interest of others.
Of course, guys, it is completely evil. Putin wants to escalate attacks. Putin is telling Fico, hey, you need to be the guys cutting off Ukraine. Cut off Ukraine so they know what it feels like. Help us fight against Ukraine. That's what he's saying to an EU member nation. It's unbelievable, but at the same time, it's very believable. And this is why thumbnail title is as it is. There must be a response from Donald Trump today in regard to the war in Ukraine, directly in regard to the statements that have come out from Lavrov, that have come out from Putin. There will be critical attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure. And ladies and gentlemen, I work with soldiers here very closely. Lots of very good friends. Ukraine is able to defend themselves. But the reality is, if Russia wants to strike infrastructure, they can do it, and they will do it. We're going to see more of that. I can even tell you that my friends here in some of the areas I work are already thinking about the winter, looking ahead, how they're going to provide power for their homes, making sure that they have enough batteries, enough power inverters. They're already thinking here in the first week of September because they know it's coming. And this is why there must be a response. So the only thing that we've heard here in Ukraine is actually from Secretary Bessent, who making some statements that, Trump has options on the table, and I think he's going to strongly respond because, after Alaska and then after the meeting there on that Monday with Zelensky and the European leaders, Putin hasn't done anything. Listen to this video clip and then we'll close out.
When the European leaders and President Zelensky were at the White House the following Monday, has done the opposite of following through on what he indicated he wanted to do. As a matter of fact, he has, in a despicable manner, increased the bombing campaign. So I think with President Trump, all options are on the table, and I think we'll be examining those very closely this week.
So there, you've heard it yourself from Bessent making that statement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're at. The reality is Donald Trump and his administration truly believed or have believed that Vladimir Putin is their friend. And I think the only one that has a crack of insight into that is actually Marco Rubio, but he's like a deer in headlights. He will not say a word, and it's very unfortunate. But hopefully, the things that are coming out of China are a wake-up call for the United States and for Europe to stand stronger, to sanction, to aggressively supply Ukraine and stand against this evil that is coming out of Moscow. But unfortunately, that evil is gaining some pretty powerful friendships and partnerships, of course, in places like we expect, China, North Korea, but India, this buddying up, and now even European leaders like Fico and Vucic and Orban. We're at a very critical moment. So I'm going to be awake, waiting to hear what Trump says. And we better hear something. I plan to come back and give you another update after that. I hope to have a good update to give you at that time. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. Thank you for standing with us. You guys be blessed. And make sure that you have that notification bell on. Thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting. Look forward to your comments on this one. Be blessed.